Welcome to Sormag's Writers Cafe, where we share the real writer's life over a cup of friendship, sprinkled with laughter and wisdom. My name is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I'm your host for today. This episode's sponsor is Sormag Promotions. Sitting at the cafe with me today is Ms. Yvonne Hooks and W. Parks Brigham. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
So we are going to start with Miss Yvonne and ask her to tell us a little bit about who she is, what she writes, and hopefully she'll read a little excerpt about her book. Go ahead, Miss Yvonne.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I am kind of a newly published author, although I'm not a new writer. I've been writing all my life. But in 2020, November 2020, I put my first book out, and in 2021, I put other books out. So I've written all my life, and I think that my writing comes from my big imagination, because I have a very kind of crazy, kind of wild imagination, and it helps. So what I'm doing, I live in Las Vegas, and I'm retired, so I can write all day, and I love it. This is my passion, to write and create things, because when you get the thoughts in your mind and you can put it into words and attach it to characters and that, it's just, that's what I love to do. So what I have done, as I said, I'm a self-publisher, but I have a few stories that I've had for years on my computer, and last year when Kindle Vella came out, I wasn't impressed with it, but two ladies, LaShaunda Hoffman and Paulette Nunley, talked me into, they made it so exciting. I said, I'm going to try one of my stories. And the story I have has a lot of plots and subplots. It's a mystery, kind of a mystery espionage and adventure, kind of like that. So I said this would be a good place to try it on. So I've been working on it. I'm up right now to 16 episodes, but I have actually, yesterday I put my book on Kindle Vella, and it was published. I'm excited about it. I have 10 episodes that I have published. And I put out my episodes every 3 days. So if you follow me, if you want to go to Vella and follow me, you'll get a notification when the next episode comes out. The name of my book is For Melanie's Sake. And it is, like I said, a kind of mystery espionage. It's got, a lot of secrecy and it centers around a woman, and I call her just a typical woman, but she's a woman that if she passed you on the street, you wouldn't even notice her. She's one of those invisible women. So she has had some tragedies in her life, and she lost her mother at an early age and was raised by an aunt, her mother's sister, but she was totally the opposite of her mother. So, and her name is Annie, and she is looking for love. She's looking for someone to love her. She wants that relationship that she lost with her mother. So she is kind of into, she's into children. She loves children because she calls them innocent, and they don't hurt you, because she was kind of bullied and always on the fringe of kind of society. So Annie's aunt becomes ill. She's very ill. She has cancer, and she becomes ill. So Annie went to Milwaukee to be with her because that's what her aunt requested, even though she has a daughter, Nicole, and a son. But she requested Annie, and the daughter and Annie do not get along. So I would like to read an excerpt from my book, and it comes in Milwaukee and at her aunt's house, and her aunt has just passed. So here I go. Annie, excuse me. Annie went back to her aunt's house. It was extremely cold and smelled of medicine, illness, and death. She opened up the windows, needing air, although it was 4 a.m. Not wanting to go into her aunt's room, she closed the door as she passed. Going into her own room and taking her clothes off, she drew a hot bath. The steamy water seemed to loosen the tension in her back and shoulders, bringing relief. She was used to taking 2-minute showers for fear of not hearing her aunt. But now Annie let her body soak in the humid moisture as if this was the remedy that would take away all her heart throbs. The tears mingled with the water, and Annie relaxed, nearly falling asleep, bumping her head against the tub. Exhausted, she stumbled into her bedroom and put on her robe, then called Nicole. "Hello, we're not here right now, but if you leave your name and number, we'll get right back to you," an answering machine announced. "Nicole, this is Annie. Please call me as soon as you get this message. It's about Aunt Edith. It's urgent. Please call me. Bye." Annie hung the phone up, a little annoyed. For some reason, she felt Nicole was there. In fact, she was sure she heard the message. Why would she be screening her calls? She knew her mother was near death. Annie made a big cup of tea and drank it slowly, reliving the actions of the night. She knew Aunt Edith would die someday, but she had gone so fast. She never dreamed the cancer had advanced that far. She never asked for more pain medication. She must have known. Suddenly it struck her. She had not said goodbye. Annie could hardly remember the last thing she said to her aunt in the emergency room. Shame and guilt flooded over her, and again the tears came. I'm going to skip a little bit. Okay, so Annie fell asleep, and I'm going to pick up. Annie was awakened by the phone. She had to look around to orientate herself as to where she was. The phone persisted. "Hello?" She tried to make her voice sound normal. "Annie, this is Nicole. What's up?" "Nicole, it's about Aunt Edith." "What about Aunt Edith? What about Mother?" "Well, she became very sick last night. I took her to emergency, but it was too late. She passed away at 1:56 this morning," Annie timidly said. She heard a deep intake of breath. "She died in the emergency room? She told you she wanted to die at home. You know she told both of us that a long time ago. How could you go against her wishes?" Nicole blasted into the earpiece. "Nicole," Annie tried to interrupt, but she ran it on. "I knew I couldn't trust you to do anything right. You're so stupid. All you had to do was sit there and watch her die at home. But no, you screwed that up. Well, it's going to be on your conscience from now on, not mine. But then you probably don't have a conscience, do you?" "Nicole, she didn't die at the hospital. I was trying to bring her back home." But she died in the ambulance before we could get here, Annie said quietly. This time Nicole screamed in the phone, "In the ambulance? You let my mother die in the ambulance? Why did you leave the house at all? You were supposed to let her die at home, where she asked to. What part of that don't you understand, nitwit?" Annie couldn't say anything. Tears stung her eyes and her lips trembled, but no words came out. "Well," Nicole continued, "there's nothing that we can do about it now. I'll call Nathan. I want you to make arrangements for the funeral for Tuesday. I'll fly in Sunday. Call Reverend Kirk at the church, and don't screw anything else up. I want flowers everywhere. I want her obituary in the papers, and I want the house spotless when we get there. Disinfect her room. We'll be staying in it. I'll call you later with more instructions." The phone went dead. Annie sat numbly staring out the window. Nicole hated her. She'd gone out of her way to hurt Annie. She always resented sharing her mother, belittling her every chance she got. Nicole will have a field day at the funeral. So I'm going to stop there.
Annie must have lots of patience, because I wanted to punch Nicole in her head a couple of times.
Really?
Her talk to her. And excuse me, is Annie the maid? Because sounds like she needs to come home and help get all this stuff together. Yeah. that excerpt right there. Woo, yes. Nicole is off the chain.
I'm like you, LaShaunda. I don't like her very much.
Right. Tell her, and I want plenty of flowers. I want this and that. Lady, I'm going to need you to fly in and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
this sounds
the next day she does this. I'm sorry.
I said it sounds very interesting.
Oh,
right.
Thank you.
Woo, you ready, Miss W. Parks? Tell us a little bit about you and your books, and tell us about the new book that's about to drop.
Okay. I'm W. Parks Brigham. I write sweet romance and women fiction. I have penned some of the sweetest stories with plus-size women of ages 27 and older as the heroine. I also have self-published. Let's see, I think my count is 29. The book that I'm going to release is going to make number 29. I've self-published each and every one of my books. Most of them I did. I have some that, I've had other people to do that's into doing covers. Let's see, my books are divided into, 23 of my books, and maybe 24, are divided into 4 series. Allenville Matchmaker series, the Golden Years series, which is consists of those heroines that are over 50. Also, a Second Chance series, and then the last one is Unexpected Love series. The book that I just finished, Real Love is Worth the Wait. That's going to be book number 9 in Second Chances. And it's taking place in a little small town, and this is a real small town, which I've added to it, to make it interesting, because it's really small. It's a community, really, and it's called Sunnyside, Texas. And what's so unique about it, I live in Sunnyside, Texas. In Houston, though, and we call it Sunnyside, Texas. It's known as Sunnyside, Texas, but there are other neighborhoods. Like the one I live in is called Cloverland. Hillwood. But anyway, we refer to it as Sunnyside. Once you pass a certain street in this area in Houston, the south side of Houston. A Perfect Holiday Love is about, well, let me back up. Most of my stories, I try to revisit some of my characters. So some of my stories piggyback off of another story. And that's what this story does. Real love. It's the brother story who we met and love slipped away. And that was the sister story. So that was the first time meeting the Wynn family. And so what I tried to do, since I'm a diehard reader myself, I love romance. I've gotten caught up in every genre. I never thought I would read science fiction, paranormal. I can't wait. As a matter of fact, I search for another author who writes paranormal. So I like to revisit, and I guess that's, I always say that's that nosiness in me. So if I like to revisit or know what the other characters are doing, then I'm sure there are other readers, feeling the same way. So when I wrote, and then I realized I also like series. So, and brother and sister, we read a lot of brothers. And then we read a lot of sisters. It just depends on what the author's doing. Now, sometimes it's mixed. So I call myself tapping in on that. So the Wynn family consists of two brothers and a sister. So the sister got married and love slipped away, which was a beautiful story with a baby involved. Oh, I love those kind. I love children. And I guess I can say the reason why is because I was an educator for 30-plus years. I retired in 2009, and when I retired, I started back writing. My first book I wrote in 1997, and I put in my mind, you can't teach school and write, and I think the main reason behind it, because I'm a procrastinator, was I write late at night, so I couldn't write until 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning and then go to work. And especially with being a 5th grade teacher, those children, were at the test. They took tests. They had to take tests to be able to leave 5th grade and blah, blah, blah. So I convinced myself in order to be the best, because they needed me, and to keep the test scores up, I couldn't do both. So I didn't. And when I retired in 2009, I've written 28 books. So and thanks to LaShaunda, I'm patting myself on the back as one of her social butterflies, because I never would have said that anywhere else. So I'm real proud of Wanda Joe. That's who I'm known as, Wanda Joe. W. Parks Brigham is my writer's name. So back to my story that I'm getting ready to release. It's piggybacking from Love Slipped Away. As a matter of fact, the stories overlap each other. They're kind of taking place around the same time. The main characters come in right about with I'm trying to think of the young lady's name from Love Slipped Away. Sinitra. Okay, so now I need to go ahead and say these names because I will forget. Sinitra Wynn and Melvin Fowler are the characters from Love Slipped Away. Sinitra and Cody Wynn are brothers and sisters. Zanaya is I call them sister friends. Her and Sinitra are very good friends, along with two other young ladies. Sinitra was the only girl, so she formed a bond with the other, with 2-3 more ladies. So I said they overlap. The only difference, there will be some changes that may be noticeable, but the biggest change is that I changed Zanaya's name. Now let me just say this: I've learned a lesson that maybe I need to back up. I'm a scatterbrain author. What does that mean? I cannot do an outline and write a story. It does not work. So my story comes off the top of my head. It's from within, and I put it on paper. So, and then I have all these great ideas, and it never dawned on me that I was going to, I knew I was going to do the brother story, but I didn't think about letting Sanaya be the woman, be his love interest. So therefore, I went back and I changed it. I didn't like the way I spelled her name in Love Slipped Away, so I changed it for her story. Real love is worth the wait. So I'm learning that whatever story that comes to heart, like I have several, so what I have to do is write down a little bit, and if nothing else, give the character's name, because a title that's just out. Sometimes a title does not come up in existence until the story is written. Real Love, I had no title. I had to call it Zanaya and Cody's story. As a matter of fact, the last couple of stories, there's no title. I have to, I use the character's name, and that's how I pull it up. So, Zanaya, like I said, those stories these two overlap. So here's the synopsis. Due to circumstances beyond their control, Zanaya Sinclair and Cody Wynn found themselves having to regroup and start a new life. Returning to their hometown, little old Sunnyside, Texas, was the plan. Coincidence? Both had been in a situationship with self-centered people. They were too happy and relieved to call it quits. What's unbelievable, neither significant other wanted to accept the one-sided affair. It was a bust, and it was time to let it go. Home, sweet home, and a true love. Now that's what the story is about. Without going into details, being extremely long. I've also learned. I'm long-winded, as you can see, and I kind of said, okay, Wanda, cut it down. Cut it down. So I'm going to go ahead and read chapter 1.
You gonna read chapter 1 for us?
Well, I read all of chapter 1.
Just read 2 pages.
Let's see. All right, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to read part of her and part of him. So that's what I'm trying to find.
Okay.
Because, you're right. And see, and LaShaunda, I'm starting off a certain way. Page 9. I'm venturing out. I'm doing something that's not W. Parks. But I tell you what, I've done this before, and wow, the feedback. So I said, okay, let me try. Let me do this again. And this is a young, this couple is young. Well, I say young, they're in their early 30s. She's in her early 30s, and he's 35, I think. Okay, here's chapter 1. I don't understand why you have to go, muffled Jason as he pulled on a pebbled nipple while pinching the other. She gasped, and it wasn't because it felt good either. As far as she was concerned, Jason's roughness was painful. Plus, he was a selfish and clueless lover that didn't have a clue his methods were a sad turnoff. Furthermore, if she was truthful, he was her worst mistake in every form and fashion, in the throes of supposedly passion. Can't you FaceTime her instead of going all the way to Texas? There has to be someone in. With a skull on his face, he lifted his head. What's the name of that little hick country town? Hick country town. Shoot, that's like the pot calling the kettle black. Natchez, Mississippi was just his country. That was why she loved being here, because of his slow-paced living. Sunnyside, and there's nobody else, Jason. Why can't you understand that? Because he's selfish and self-centered. Sanaya blew out a sigh of annoyance. I'm all the family Aunt Delia has. Plus, she's now of an age. Miss Marilee, the next-door neighbor, called to say, I need to come home. She was sick of his grumbling. That's all he's done since she told him about her having to go home, is complain. The Winds and Tony, one of her best friends she grew up with, have been looking out for her aunt ever since her Uncle Bo died. Nonetheless, it was Tony's call that convinced her she needed to make a personal visit, ASAP, and come prepared to stay a minute. He didn't need to know that part. She tried to appeal to his sensitive side, as if he had one. It's not like I'm not coming back, Jason, she replied. Why can't you understand that? Cried Zanaya. Because he's selfish and thinks the world is centered around him. Now she was agitated for several reasons. She hadn't been to her aunt in 2.5 years due to COVID-19, and before that it was this mess she was dealing with right now. So yes, it was past time for her to make a personal visit. She dare not tell him Miss Marilee said her aunt was terribly lonely and wanted to see her in the flesh. He certainly wouldn't understand that. Okay, now I'm going to jump on down to Cody. Cody, I don't understand. Can you tell me why? I thought we were good, whined the gorgeous woman he's lived with for the last 8 months. And what about the holidays coming up? The parties? We've been through all of this, Takira, Cody said as he maintained his cool. You know how my job works. I can never say when or if I'll be in the city for anything, and I've advised you from the get not to involve me with your plans, period. As far as the upcoming holidays, I don't know what lies ahead, and certainly can't make any, but you're here now, and my family is expecting you for Thanksgiving, Takira pouted. With one hip shifted, brows creased, arms folded, she shoots out. Cody, are you listening to me? See, this is what he was sick of, this discussion right here, plus the attitude. She refused to accept that whatever they had went stale almost before it started. In reality, she was trying to put him in a relationship he did not want. Cody knew he did not want, nor was he ready for a commitment with her or any woman for that matter. Although he never considered himself a ladies' man, he knew he was fire when it came to looks, and finances were on point. Nevertheless, he was not allowing anyone to latch onto him unless he wanted them to, and that would only happen when he finds that special one. Takira was far from what he wanted in a woman, plus red flags were visible from the get. He just ignored them. Takira was clingy, petty, and high maintenance. Man, you knew this in the very beginning, reprimanding himself while continuing to pack the few things he had in her place. So why did he continue to let matters get out of hand? Although baby girl was superficial, she was cute, smart, and ambitious. All of that was wrapped up in a petite, curvy package. Obviously, he let a pretty face and banging body affect his rational thinking and paid dearly with all the arguing, screaming, and crying. Hell, sometimes she had him so frustrated and upset, the make-up sex wasn't worth it, merely a waste of his time in his book. Okay, that's 3 pages about my story. So the first couple of chapters, chapter 1 gives a little background of those 2. And then chapter 2, they're making their move. And chapter 3, they're meeting. And so this story, it started off as a holiday story. I have a mental thing about Christmas stories should come in December. Thanksgiving stories. So that's a mental thing for me. So I decided to just put in my mental blank, my mental mind, this is a winter story, which worked out perfectly.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing us. I see you got a character in there that probably need to get popped too.
Oh yeah. Well,
I tell you, I guess that's what moves the story. You always got to have somebody you can't stand in the story. Like,
but it gets better because she's going to be history. When he goes home.
He sounds like he's going to jump in quickly.
And you know what? And I saved y'all with because Jason is something else. I guess I just didn't want to read that. Now look, you write that stuff, Wanda, but you don't want to read it. I didn't want to read it.
I'm glad you ain't read it. We don't need to hate him no more than we have to.
Yeah, you gonna, as the Kieran said, you ain't gonna like him. Yeah, I didn't want to. So it's definitely for the readers.
All right. Well, I wanted to tonight talk a little bit about finding your audience. I wanted to say, W. Parks, she says that she's one of my social butterflies, and I have 3 people who have been with me since day one when I first started wrote my book and started doing coaching people to learn how to promote, and she's number 2 social butterfly. She came to me I think you had 9 books when I started working with you, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably did, because the first 4 were already out there, and I think didn't we start with the Allenville Matchmakers?
Mm-hmm.
Or either the last book, Surviving the Storm.
And she was kind of discouraged because she was writing, but she wasn't getting the readership that she wanted. And I knew that there was an audience for her. She was writing the plus size woman that was over 40 or over. And I was like, there's the readers out there. They just don't know about you. And we gotta tell them that you exist. And I told her it was gonna be a process because it's hard to convince writers to try someone new. It's just really hard because they have their favorites and they don't want to get disappointed. So if they try something new and it's horrible, then that burns them for the next person that's new out there. But one of the things I told her is to get into the writing groups, get into the readers groups, and participate as a member, not as an author per se, and start promoting more. We created her a group on Facebook. We tried to do a newsletter, but we had issues. But one of the things that I loved about working with I want to call you Wanda. That's her name is Wanda.
You call me Wanda.
Wanda, with that, when you work with someone, you want them to listen and implement. And that she would say, she would tell me the stuff that she didn't like to do, and I respected that because she taught me that just because that's what people are doing, if they're not comfortable doing that, they're not going to do it. And she's just been a guest on this podcast, and I've had this podcast 8 years now. I think I started it.
Shame.
She was not ready. And so I'm telling you, she's come a long way because she was like, no, I don't want to do that. And when we went to video, she's like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. But she started coming out of her cocoon and knowing that if this was a way to reach readers, then maybe I need to try that. If this is the way to reach readers, this is what I want to do. And today she was talking about she wants to learn a little bit about the Kindle because she believes in reaching new readers, and that's what I love about her, that she's willing to try. And she comes out of her comfort zone and she'll try it. And I always tell my clients that try it once. If you don't like it, then you don't like it, and you can move on. It's hard to say, oh, I don't like that if you've never tried it, especially when it comes to promotion, because there are so many different things that you can do with promotion, but you got to try it to see if it's something that you want to do. And so I want to talk to both of you all because Yvonne is doing that. She's building her readership. I'm watching her. I'm loving how she's implementing the different things that she's doing. We work together with me promoting for her, but she does a lot of her promotion for herself too, and she's willing to try things. We brought her over to Clubhouse. She likes Clubhouse. She goes there. She does different things. She decided she wanted to work on doing an audio for her book. Excuse me. She was doing it herself, and so I wanted her to share a few, about that too later. But what advice would you, what advice would you give to a new author that's starting to build their readership? What would you offer to them?
Is that for both of us?
Yes,
yes,
that's for both of you. So, Yvonne, you can start, and then we'll let Wanda talk. You there, Yvonne? Might have got kicked off. What, Wanda?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I forgot I turned mute because I was mute on. The advice I would give to anyone, young, old, that is writing is, like Nike says, just do it. Because you have been given a gift. That's the way I look at my writing. It was a gift. It was a talent that was given to me. But it wasn't given to me to keep inside of me. It's given to share with the world, because many of the writers, they're reaching the world now. People know them and, in other countries and that. But when we hold it to ourselves, we're very selfish. And some people will say, well, I don't think, in fact, I said this. I don't think people will like the way I write because, of some of the things I write and some of the things I don't write about. But I would tell anybody, if you have a gift, it wasn't meant for you to hold on to. It is meant for you to share. And I have books that I have written back in the 1990s that I never got out there because I just was so, timid and unsure. And back then it was traditional publishers. There wasn't hardly any self-publishing then. But I was afraid that if I gave it to a traditional publisher, he would change my whole style of writing. Exactly. And, so I took I actually took some courses in self-publishing, but it wasn't that popular then, but the thing I said, I know I've said this before, but my biggest thing now, because I am older, I'm an older woman, and I'm proud of it. I earned every gray-headed hair in my head, but I don't want to take anything to the grave with me. I mean, that sounds horrible, I know, to some people, but it's a reality for me because that was a gift given to me. I don't want to take gifts with me. I want to share it to the world and put it out there, and there is an audience for it. If you put it out there, I mean, you can't just put it out there and say, hey, I got a gift, somebody come on and get it. No, you got to work for it. I learned so much from LaShaunda, about promoting in that. And so I said, I'm going to try it. And I do. I do videos now and things like that I wouldn't have even 5 years ago. So my advice is just do it. Just do it. Have a plan and just do it. And a plan doesn't mean 5 years from now. Plan means right now. Because you'll never know what you can do until you fail.
Exactly.
Then you know what you can do and you can't do. So you just keep doing what you can do.
I love that. I'm learning that. You can't. If you don't fail, then you don't know if it worked or not. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Wanda?
What I would advise a person that's trying to write, regardless of age, is just like Yvonne said, just do it. Don't stop. Don't find excuses why you can't. That was my mistake. And then when you realize it, don't beat yourself up about it. That was something else I did. Because, Yvonne, I am 70 years old, and I tell you I can't rest at night with something popping up in my head, a story. So,
yeah.
you just have to go ahead and do it. And, I'm big on, I'm just sorry. You need a team, and the first person you need on your team is LaShaunda. I mean, when she said I didn't do anything, she's not telling a story. She is telling the truth. And she encouraged me. I tapped into stories with older couples. No one was doing this, and she just kept it Wanda. Nobody is doing this. But Wanda is a procrastinator. I know it, and I accept that. But just because more writers are doing it, I'm still writing my stories for older couples. Writing stories with plus size women. I refuse to have anybody in my any of my main characters, my heroine, as a size under 16. 16 is almost not a plus size woman. I have noticed other authors are doing that. And I said, I know where it came from because my first story in 1997 was about a plus size woman. And I was told by an author who was mentoring me, she said, Wanda, I just left the conference and an author had a story, featuring a plus size woman. They would not buy it. She said, so now I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm just letting you know this is not on the market. So she suggested self-publishing, and the rest is history. And my plus size girls, they're not. I don't want that gum smacking, cussing plus size woman. That's not what I want. I want a lady. So I stepped out. And I did just that. So what are you saying, Wanda? You can't please people. Please yourself first. Don't let people tell you what is not, what word am I looking for? Don't let people, stifle your creativity. Maybe that's the best way I can put it. If you feel it, put it on paper. Put it on paper. Now, yes, you're going to have to find your audience. But you know what? You're going to have to get up off your tail and work. You have to have homework. You said, right, LaShaunda? You can't just do it. You just can't write a story and put it on Amazon and think, okay, I got a book out. No, you have to be visible. The author, and I've had readers to say, I've listened to other groups and blah, blah, blah. They want to see that author promote her own work or his own work. So you have to be visible. And I know that's something that I am not, I do a little bit of, then I slack up. I do a little bit. Even though I have people who are doing it for, all promoting me, I have to be visible. And so that's what you have to understand. And Frances Ray told me this when I first started and when I first met her. Don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, if you're retired, that's another story. Because we got our money coming in, don't we, Yvonne? But now, don't you quit that job. And I'm
now that you're going to get that $2 royalty check, you want to make sure that royalty check is equivalent to what your job was getting.
Exactly.
You can't even buy some bread with that royalty check.
No, you can't do $2. You can buy a Coke. I'm talking about a 16 ounce.
Right.
So you got to work, baby. You have to keep your job. And these folks who retired and I mean who quit working to sell books, they left the house. You got to be on the street corners. You have to be out there. Mm-hmm. But you can't do that with this COVID out here now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So don't quit your job.
Slow down a lot of the book hustlers, as I call them. It slowed down a lot of the book hustlers. They had to, they was doing it old school. You get selling them books out of your trunk, and you can't really do that right now. Everything is kind of shut down. So you got to have another plan of action, And I think I like that about you guys. That you do have plans of actions. You know that this is your golden years. You want to enjoy them. You want to write. I like that. Wanda said she writes. She's a pantser, as they call her. She's sitting down and she's writing with an outline. Do you use an outline, Yvonne?
No, ma'am. No, I don't. I have tried it, but it does not work for me.
Yeah, I write an outline after the characters come to me. Somebody was saying, my characters come to me. They talk to me in dialogue. How do your characters come to you, or the plot come to you? That was a good one, huh, Yvonne?
It was a good one.
Go ahead, Yvonne.
Oh, no, go ahead.
My characters come, the plot will come, and I have to fill it in. Now, the way I write, I almost take the personality of each one of my characters. The male or female, the grandmother, the nosy aunt, the ugly acting friend. I take all of their characters, and I can write their stories. Here's my problem, and because I can be long-winded, I don't have to be so detailed in everything. That's what I've been working with. My first 3 books, it was horrible because I had readers say, you said every little bitty thing. You talk about every little bit. Okay, so I don't have to do that. Yeah, the stories I had 100-some thousand words, 200, 300 and 400 some pages. I'm at the point. Who wants to read that? So
that was old school romance. That's new stuff.
Exactly.
Pages.
Exactly. Old school romance. Exactly.
We wanted them 400-page books.
Yeah, because you were paying that kind of money. Wasn't no such thing as ebooks. But I'm almost to the point where 400. What in the world is that saying 400? Well, see, I read nothing but romance. So what does that mean? I got 3 sex scenes in one chapter. I don't need that. And so, okay, you weren't doing 3 sex scenes, Wanda, but you were describing the bedroom, the corner, the kitchen, the lift. Oh, give me a break. Every time she put on something, you describe. So I had to learn some things. So,
but that's how you improve as a writer. I think that
exactly.
You don't, your readers tell you, and you would try to improve. If you kept on doing that, you probably wouldn't have kept your readers because they'd be like, she ain't listening.
You're right.
To what you're saying.
That's right. You're right.
That's excellent that you learn. When you're a new writer, you're trying to do everything. you know, and
you
so
can't.
that's why getting readers helps, and reviews of the book and, you know, letters and emails help with the writer growing, because sometimes people they want to get 5-star ratings all the time, and I'm like, but how do you know that you've improved? You know, if all your books are 5, then you know, somebody's got to find something. You know, I'm not trying to say your books are horrible or you got a flaw, but you want to improve with each book. So every book you grow. If you're stuck at 5, you're never growing. You know, you're never going to grow.
And I've had some authors that saying I'm one of them. 3 is good.
Yeah, I think 3 is fantastic.
Yeah, 3 is wonderful. At least I have a review.
Mm-hmm. I think people miss the 3. For me, 3 is you enjoyed the book.
Exactly.
4 is you stayed up all night. 5, you read that in 3 hours.
That's right. And let's see, who was that? Rochelle. I don't know if it was Rochelle Ayers or no, Brenda Jackson. You finished the book. You read the book in 3 hours. You better go back and read that book again. Because it takes us longer than 3 hours to write a book.
Right. They suck it right on up. You be like, what? You done? I know some people that do that. The book will release they stay up to midnight and get the book when it releases, and then they're done by 3 in the morning. And you're like, are you serious? You stayed up and read the whole book? They're like, yeah, I had to finish it. I'm like,
and that's a compliment.
I savor my book. Yeah, it was a good compliment, but it's just, you know, as a writer, you want them to.
A lot of work went into that for you to get through within 2 hours. 3 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
And I a lot of work went into that.
I think they missed that. They missed that because
my reading part, they want to know what's next. I just said, wait a minute. When you another compliment.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's one question I don't ask writers is when is the next one, because I know how much it takes to write a book, you know, and it just I'm like, ooh, that was so good, you know. And you sit there and you go, oh wow, that was so good. Sometimes I get to a point I don't even want to finish the book because I know.
You know it's over with.
I'm going to lose a lovely couple.
I stopped doing that too, LaShaunda, asking, when are you going to do? I wish you would ask somebody that now. Because I know how it is. And this is another thing that somebody is getting ready to write that they should keep in mind too. Don't try to put it all in one book.
Mm-hmm.
Save some.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to put it all in the first book. Save some.
That's good. That's good too, because I think we'd be so worried we're never going to do another book, so we want to put everything.
Yeah, don't do that. There's more books in you than this book right here. So don't do that. You don't have to do that. I had to learn that myself.
Mhm. That's good advice. Good advice. It's I think that sometimes I know when I started reading romances, you got one book a year from the writers. And I think this generation of readers are spoiled because, you know, some people are writing, you know, one book a month. I've had a couple of people that they're writing one book a month, and I'm like, oh my goodness, when do you sleep? You know, they've got these readers out here thinking, well, how come you're only putting out one book a year, and they're putting out 3 or 4 books, you know? And so
thank you. And some put out 2 books a month.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? It depends on, you know, what you write.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you know you can write a book. You have a plot, a story, but now if you have 6 sex scenes, there's a book right there. I need to shut up. But there's a book right there.
Well, some people are really fast writers. I've met a woman, and she told me she called herself a slow writer. She said it takes her about 2 years to finish a book because that's how her muse works. So I've learned with writing that you can't force it. I learned that in 2020 when we got into the COVID that I had all these plans of what I was going to do. I was going to write I had 3 books I wanted to write, and my muse was like, no, you're not. You know? And so I had to accept that my mind was not focusing on that, on the writing part of it. You know, and so as a writer, I think that you should know your comfort zones, what you can do and what you can't do. I say that even with promotion, that you need to find what you like and what you don't like, because when you're doing something that you don't like, it comes across. So if you are a person who writes one book a year and you're forcing yourself to write 3 books a year, guess who's going to suffer? The story. Because that's not something that you feel comfortable doing. And it shows. It shows you might have a story that, you know, you're like, what in the world was that ending? Huh? What? It was rushed. I had to get it to my editor. And I had one person, they said they cut all the back end of the story. It made no sense when it ended. And I was like, what happened? Well, I wasn't able to finish the story, and so they just put what I had. I'm like, that didn't make any sense.
That brings me to another point. As a new writer,
mm-hmm.
you have to be careful with putting yourself on a time frame. I guess that's the right word,
mm-hmm.
because you may not make that deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And who is it between? It's between you and your readers. So now, who are you trying to please? You want your readers to have your best. So
mm-hmm.
don't go out there and say, "Ooh, I had to learn that the hard way."
Mm-hmm.
This book is going to be out in 2 days, Friday, and I'll be darned if Amazon wasn't giving me a problem. So you have to be careful. Or either I was stumped. I couldn't go past chapter 10, or couldn't get to chapter 10. So you have to be careful as what what you're doing and what you put out there to the public, because see, they're gonna hold you to that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I thought you were gonna have a book out,
mm-hmm.
and I apologized. Said, Lord, you get me out of this here. I will never do that.
Yeah, because I always tell my clients, give yourself a month time frame.
Thank you.
You know? I was talking about putting up my Kindle Vella, and I was like, I didn't have my cover, and I was like, I'm not ready. I was trying to put it up tonight, and then I was like, I'm rushing, and when you rush, you make mistakes, and so I said, you know what, I'm going to wait till tomorrow. If I not, then it won't go up, because I'm not. This is my first time doing this. I want it to be right. I want it to look right. You know, I don't want them like, what the heck? What was she doing? You know, because that's the first impression is very important, especially when it comes to books. And I tell my clients all the time, if you miss your deadline, you just tell them you missed your deadline. You don't want them to.
Right.
I had somebody dealing with Amazon. They got all the text in the ebook was goobly gobbly. And she's like, "What should I do?" I say, "Pull it, and then and tell them that you are gonna make that deadline." So she had to send out an email to her audience and social media. She got you miss a pre-sale on Amazon, you get gigs for it, but you rather get gigged than you send something out that somebody previously paid for, and is a hot mess. Now they can take it being 3 days late, but they don't want to take something where you come in there and they can't even read. It's not even a story. It's just a bunch of letters in there. And what you think they're gonna do? They are gonna want their money back, and then they're gonna go on social media and talk about you like a dog. So they won't talk about you like a dog if it's 3 days late, because they know things happen. But if you just put out some mess because you're trying to meet the deadline, no, you can't. Never try to meet the deadline, because it always backfires on you. Your audience is important, and if you plan on keeping them for 20, 30 years, you want to make sure that you're giving them the best product that you can.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Do y'all know that we have been on here an hour? I asked y'all one question, I think. Wow. Oh, that was good. I love it.
I would like to respond to your question that you asked about the plot or the character.
Yeah,
For
go
me,
ahead.
it's both.
Okay.
For me, it's both. But the characters are the ones that get in my mind and kind of get in my heart too. Usually I have something, kind of a theme, well, not exactly a scene, but it may be a situation that I know I want to write about. And then, and usually there's a man and woman involved, but once I bring that man or woman, or if it's the child or whatever, in, they start defining how they want the story to go. In fact, the one I just put on Vella, there was a sequel to it. The first one was finished. The second one, I never finished it because my main character didn't like the ending I had. So it sat on my computer for years. And then when Vella came out and I decided, well, this one is the one I'm going to start. This is, and I call it my, kind of the test, to see how the platform works, because I still don't understand everything. But this is my test, to test the waters, kind of to see how it is. And you see if you can make it, and you never really fail when you put things out there. You just have to go back and do a little more editing. That's what, I kind of tell myself, because you're creating. You can't fail when you're creating. But when I put it on Vella, I guess my character liked it because he gave me the ending. He gave me an ending to it, So it's kind of both with me, but the characters, they get in your head, and like they want things the way that they see them. It's almost like they have their own personality. You want to go this way, and he goes, no, I'm not like that. I go this way. Okay. So I say that it's the characters are more important to me than the plot. And I cannot do. I've tried for years to do outlines. I just cannot do it because it's flowing. And if I'm sitting there trying to do the ideas are flowing. If I try to do an outline, I miss most of the stuff because I can't write fast enough. Trying to do an outline, and it's already filling in. Between the lines. So I just write most of the time. And like I said, I love to write on a yellow pad with a pencil. I know that's old-fashioned and crazy, but that's when my, like they say, the juices flow.
I love that. We were talking about that on Clubhouses, how you write. And I was telling them that I was... when I started writing, I wrote on a notepad with a pen, and that's how I wrote. And I said, and then I was telling them that I didn't get on my typewriter before computers. I didn't get on my typewriter until I was ready to type up my words, my story. And I said that I can't start a story on the computer because I always write on paper first, and somebody had asked me, well, why don't you get somebody to transcribe your stuff? And I'm like, I can't, because when I'm writing, when I start typing it up, other things come to me as I'm typing it, so you're filling in different things. Maybe you didn't have the dress color, and you start typing, you're like, oh, the dress is this color, and so you can't get that with transcription. They just miss that part of it, the creative part of it. I think that's what you're saying, that creative side. You can't. There's nothing that you can say about it. It's different for everybody, and that's one of the lessons that I learned with doing interviews with authors, everybody writes differently. Nobody writes the same. You know, they say, well, what do you think? You know, you meet a new author, and they're like, well, what do you do to write? How do you write? You know, when I first started doing interviews, I would get authors that would come on, and they say, oh, I get up early in the morning before I go to work, so I'm like 2 hours before I go to work. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna get up early and before I go to work, and my mind is like, my creative juices was not flowing in early, and I realized I'm not a morning person, so I don't know why I thought I was going to be a morning person to write, you know. And then they would say, oh, I stayed up at night and I write late at night. Well, when I started writing seriously, I was a new mom. I had a toddler. When she went to bed, I'm going to bed. You know, and so I'm like, okay, I'll try to stay up. And I found that for me, my writing was at work. When I was at work, I would write on my lunch break.
Same thing.
My lunch break, my little breaks that we got.
That's what I did.
And so that's what I would do. I would write during that. And then sometimes when everybody would go home, I would stay an hour later and I would write before I went home. And so when I came home, I didn't have to worry about my stories. And then we went into COVID, and my muse wasn't visiting me, and I kept trying to figure out what is wrong. Well, I'm at home, so it doesn't turn on at home. It wasn't turning on. And I was like, what in the world? You know, and so I started going back to work once a week, and I'll be at work, and I'll be sitting at my desk, and my muse like, hey, I'm here, let's get this first stuff. You know, and I'm like, and I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had trained my muse to visit me at work. And so I'm trying to retrain them to visit me here at home. Sometimes at work, sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, I found, because as a self-published, I put my own deadlines, you know, but if I was with a publisher, I don't know if I would be able to handle having deadlines because I don't write like that, you know. And so I found as an author, as a writer, that you have to find your balance when it comes to writing. You can't say, oh, well, LaShaunda does that at work. Maybe I'll try it at work, because it might not work for you. So you have to find your own balance. And that's the best advice I could give people, is to find your own balance when it comes to writing, and also to find your own balance when it comes to promotion. I would never tell people to do what I do, because I'm crazy. I am a social butterfly all over the world, but I'm promoting myself, I'm promoting other people, so I've come up with a balance that works for me. You know, I tell other people, you have to find what works for you. I could give you things to do, but if it's not something that you feel comfortable with, then you're not going to do it. So you got to, you know, find what you like, and then you do what you like. And you will find that, you know, I have somebody that told me, I only promote on the weekends. That's the only time I have is to promote on the weekends. And she said, is that okay? And I said, if that works for you, it works for you. If you're getting the results that you want, and that's all you can do, then that's all you can do. You know, some people, they work all day, they don't want to promote during the day. You know, so she promotes on the weekends, and that works for her. That's fine. You know, maybe you want to promote, you know, I had a client, one she get on Facebook, post a post, one post a day. That's all she wanted to do. And I said, if that works for you, that's what you do. So you have to find what works for you and look at the results. Are you getting engagement? Are you selling books? If you're not, then you up it up a little bit more. You gotta move it a little bit more. You can't just write books and expect people to buy books. You know, we not Harry Potter mama. But it took her 10 books to get to that. You know, she didn't come out like that. The first book, I'm sure it wasn't like that. You know, but she built up the audience to where now she probably never have to promote herself, because they're like, oh, she's writing a book. Okay, I'm getting it. You know, but you got to build up to that. You got to build that audience to that. You don't come out with everybody buys my book when it first releases. No, don't nobody come out like that. Right. We wish it happened that way, but it doesn't. You gotta just like Miss Yvonne is on Kindle Vella now. She has to tell people she's on Kindle Vella, because most people aren't on there. You know. Right. But they might come over to check it out because they like her writing, and they'll say, "Hey, I like her writing. Let me go see what she got over there." Boom. you know. But if she don't tell anybody, nobody's coming. What were you saying, Yvonne? What were you saying?
Go ahead.
No, you were saying something. I'm just saying, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that a lot of my writing is older people who are not on social media so part of my promotion is trying to get them to sign up with Amazon. That's the promotion, so I can bring them kind of into the 21st century even.
Okay.
But a lot of them...
Part of your promotion is training.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
Part of the promotion is training, but that's because you know who your audience is. And a lot of people have a hard time with that because, for instance, with Kim DeVella, a lot of writers thought that because it was a book that they were going to bring their regular readers over there. But if you are not used to serialized books, you find it very strange. You're like, it's not a print. I can't get an ebook. I can't get an audio. You mean I got to read it on my phone or I got to read it on my tablet? I don't know. And then I got to buy for every episode. I don't know. And so but here's the thing. Those aren't your readers. If you got to drag them to come over there, that's not the person that's that type of thing. So you got to go find the people. Now, your audience, if they're willing to be trained to come over to Amazon, sign up for Amazon and get their books, great. But if they're not, don't waste your time. Keep trying to pull them over there because they're not going to come. Some people just do not like change. They're not going to try new things. But if they go, oh, what do I need to do? That's the person you need to grab. But if they're, I don't have Amazon, I don't want to, they're not my back. Keep moving.
Well, that's why eventually I'm going to, because I took a lot out of the books, the episodes to make them smaller, I'm eventually going to publish the book, a regular book, but down the road. Right now it's Vella.
Yeah.
And that way I can capture those that won't come to Vella.
Exactly.
That's my thought.
And that's the whole thing with books is that you want to reach each type of reader. That person who likes an ebook, the person who likes a print book, the person who likes an audio book, and now that person who likes serialized. Now they might be the same person or they might be 4 individual different people. So you don't know until you tell the people. But a lot of artists had a hard time because they were trying to convert people. You can't convert somebody to serialized. No. They're either going to like it or they're not. It's not in between of, oh, let me try it out. Most people who come to the serialized platform have probably already read a serialized book before, and so they'll come over. And if you pitch it to the 70-plus age, just tell them the Reader's Digest books. That's how I felt for the Reader's Digest books were serialized. They had stories in there, and you read a chapter for that issue, and then you wait to the next issue to get the second part of it. So there are people who have read serialized books. Then, if you get the old magazines, what was it? Ladies' Home Journal or something else. That was the book. I read a book one time in there, and I couldn't read the second part because I didn't have the second part of the issue. And so I went over to somebody's house, and they had the second part of the book. And I sat in their kitchen and read the book. And she was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I read the first part of this book. It was so good. I want to read the rest." But it was only in the magazine. So that's how you get those people who say, there's some people that's never read a serialized book, but most of the older generation, anybody 50 or older, have probably read serialized books because that's what they used to do to the books.
Right.
They would put them in. If you read I read Cosmo. Oh Lord, that was a long time ago. And they would have, excerpts of books and stuff like that, and you could read every month. So there's an audience. It's just a matter of, like you're saying, finding your audience. You had to find your audience for your regular books. You find one for the serialized. Ladies, I am so excited that we had a chance to talk. This has been really good. Can you tell our listeners how to get in touch with you? We'll start with Yvonne.
How to get a hold of me? I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram, Clubhouse, and my website is yhooksbelieves.com. yhooksbelieves.com. And I'm going to another website host this weekend. That's my project this weekend, is to get a better website. But that's where I am.
All right. What about you, Ms. W. Parks?
Okay. I'm on Facebook. It's W. Parks Brigham. I have a suite. I call it a suite room. It's Wanda's Suite Room for readers who like my story. And also, I have an author page with Amazon. And anything, all you have to do is W. Parks Brigham, and I pop up. So it's real simple. W. Parks Brigham, and I will pop up.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies. I want to thank our sponsor, Sormeg's Promotion. Promotion can sometimes be a heavy burden that authors believe they have to do alone. Sormeg Promotion is here to help you with your book promotion. We can do daily, weekly, and weekend promotions to get you and your books in front of the readers. Add us to your promotion plan, and we can help you stay consistent with your book promotion. We also promote literary services and events. Check out the link in the show notes for more information. Sormeg Promotion. Promotion is what we do. I want to thank you, our listeners, for taking time to listen to the podcast. I have those 3 questions for you. Did you learn something from this episode? If you did, please share the podcast with your community. Would you like to be a guest for an episode? Contact me at onesormeg@gmail.com. And my last question, have you promoted your books or business today? If you haven't, go showcase those wings. Someone needs what you have to offer. This is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I will see you on the next.